Everything that happened next happened in such quick succession, not even Vera or Dimmadel could precisely keep up. Karmar jumped from the tall rock she had been perched upon prior and tackled Hammer full force from the air, knocking her and a couple of the girls behind her down in a series of falls. As reactions happened, half of the coven started scrambling away, and the other half was staring slack-jawed at the ongoing procession. Vera tried to tell the fleeing young women to be still, but it was to no avail as they began running through the ruinous land away from Karmar and the main herd. In what seemed but a moment, Karmar had Hammer by the neck of her blouse and was slamming her head into the ground repeatedly as the other girls she knocked down crawled fearfully towards Dimmadel and Vera. Dimmadel started to advance to try and stop Karmar from doing lasting damage to her sister, but Vera waved frantically for her to stop and for them all to start backing away cautiously. As they did, the smacks of Hammer's head on the unlevel and frankly spiky ground grew wetter and soggier, until there was a rotten splash of a noise. Then Karmar stood. She looked out towards what remained of the main girls from the coven and smiled, blood all over her face in flecks and splashes. "Or ladies, don't be scared. He sells courage too, I'm sure of it," she said, and began advancing. Then all hell broke loose. The girls all started screaming save for Vera. Dimmadel herself was frightened and followed Siobhan when the fleeing began again. There were shrill cackles left behind as they wove panically away with very little regard for where they were heading. Eventually, after what felt like over an hour, they did stop. Dimmadel was quite pleased to find that most of the coven had followed her and Siobhan. Vera had been right on her heels. Maxine and Corarli were holding Delphi. So, given that Quindolin was already dead and they'd just lost Hammer and Karmar went psychotic. They were only missing 4 members, and they needed to find them and get out of this place before they found out who this Ihia Karmar spoke of was. Dimmadel was exhausted, as were most of the girls, but she still offered to take first watch over the little cave they had found shelter in. As the rest of the coven slept their fitful nightmares in that strange dreamscape, Dimmadel stood wearily at the edge of the cave. Then suddenly she saw something. A dark blue-black hand crept around a rock outcropping and a sharp-featured creature peeked an eye at her. Dimmadel paled, but feeling the magic of her brooch still working, she moved forward to the figure, which rapidly disappeared behind the rock it was hiding behind. Shooting one strong glance back at the cave, she made the turn around the rocks herself and came face to face with the entity. "Oh," she said surprisedly. This creature looked remarkably like a vampire, but different. Perfectly androgynous and perfectly symmetrical in its features, it had a skin that looked hard like the carapace of a beetle, with a similarly bug-like iridescent blue-green a black hue. You art from the universe, my own, are you not?" it said in a hissing rattle. Dimmadel thought hesitantly, then replied, I am from Homire, if that is what you mean." The creature's eyes widened excitedly and it spoke again. "We must make a deal. I can help you return. But you must allow me to become a part of that deal. I want safe passage back home." Dimmadel's face went guarded as she contemplated this. She didn't know what this creature was, but she did know that they were in a lot of trouble with their magic being inoperable. She returned her gaze to the creature's eyes and replied, "Number 1, who and what are you? Number 2, if you want a promise from me, are you willing to promise to never harm me or my friends in return? And finally, number 3, is the way you have for us to go back safe?" The creature regarded her with a hint of respect and then nodded slowly as it said, "I am the progenitor, the origin for all vampires. I was cast out of the universe by my own traitorous bloodlines. You can call me Protor to keep it short if that helps you. Of course no harm shall ever come to you or yours if you get me out of this long hellish predicament on my own blood I vow. And from what I can tell, you can get us back. You just need some extra help making it happen here." Dimmadel drew her eyebrows together curiously and replied, "What do you mean? You can make magic work in this place? Protor smiled, revealing very long fangs that stuck out past his lips, and said, "No, but I can make it so that you can. But first we must make our pact legitimate. Do you so vow to release me from my exile in exchange for the knowledge and resources in order for you to return not only myself but you and your group as well?" Dimmadel looked around warily, then at Protor, and smiled a nervous smile. "I suppose I haven't any other options. I vow it, progenitor." Suddenly there was a vibrant red and purple flash, and Protor was no longer there. Dimmadel was shocked and angry for a moment. Then within her mind she heard his voice. "Do not worry, Magic Princess. I have not left you. I am in your mind. If you die, so too shall I, so please succeed greatly." Dimmadel thought confusedly for a moment, then said aloud, "What am I supposed to do now?" Protor's voice replied calmly, "Go trade your shift and sleep. You will know what to do from there." Dimmadel nodded to herself and sucked back towards the cave. As she reached the mouth of it, she saw Vera was awake and leaning on a wall waiting for her. Dimmadel made an awkward smile at her and a little half wave, and Vera only frowned. "Where did you go, Dimmadel?" Vera said in a loud whisper. Dimmadel blanked. She had never used that name with Vera before, so why was she using it now? Vera made a smile that was only skin deep, then replied to her shocked face. "Oh yes, I've known since the very first day you walked into my club. You should be the first to understand that not everyone is what they appear to be," she said casually. Dimmadel thought stoically for a moment, then finally replied, breaking the long silence. "This is not only for my own safety but the safety of many others. If you have any respect for what you are, you will keep this to yourself," she said pointedly to Vera. Vera laughed under her breath, looked at Dimmadel as though she was just a stupid child, then changed her face to a more relaxed state. "We are witches, Lady Maribel, secrets are our lifeblood. Now go and get some rest, please. I'm sure I'll need you well rested tomorrow." Dimmadel nodded curtly and made her way to one of the makeshift bedrolls in the cave, and went to sleep easily from her exhaustion. As she drifted into sleep, her dreams took on that similar hellish hue, but it was overcut by wavy white lines constantly moving like static. She opened her sleepy eyes blearily and said sleepily, What's going on? Hello?" It took a moment, but she saw Zealot in what looked like a very nice and cozy kitchen. He was on a stepladder reaching spices up high on the wall to season some sort of big bubbling soup he was cooking over an open fire. "Zealot, what am I doing here?" she asked, but Zealot didn't turn and seemed to be humming some song under his breath as he moved swiftly to cook. Dimmadel stamped her foot in impatience and screamed out, "Zealot the rude!" That seemed to do the trick, as Zealot whipped around and caught eyes with Dimmadel. "What in the five hells? Princess! What are you doing in my home? How did you find me?" Dimmadel started trying to explain, but it seemed as though Zealot was having great difficulty hearing her. Hold on. Let me see if I have this clear. You and your little witch friends decided to traipse off to another reality to save your friends, found out it's incredibly hostile and you all are powerless. And you want my help?" Zealot said once they had managed to communicate most of the details. Dimmadel felt her face redden as she felt embarrassment, although not entirely sure why she felt it. It seemed that for some reason she still cared what her old instructor had to say about her. She managed to convey that yes, that is what she wanted, and much to her surprise Zealot smiled. "Well, of course, my princess. I will send a spell that's ready to activate. Round up and find all your little friends, and then once all together link arms and chant There's no place like hell 3 times. And I'll have you all home before nightfall." Dimmadel smiled with great relief and felt a happy tear fall down her cheek. Thank you, Zealot. See you soon, she said, feeling her dream already start to fade. She sat up with a start to see light had just begun to start filtering into the cave, and she said aloud to everyone, I have a way out of this place. We need to find the others. What do you mean? You thought of a spell? Maxine said with a heavy amount of doubt in her voice. Dimmadel shook her head and replied, I have been tormented by a demon for the past week or so in my dreams. But it seems that the same demon is willing to help me get back home. I guess so he can keep tormenting me. He told me in my sleep. Then there were murmurs of distrust that spread amongst the girls, until Vera stepped forward and said, If any of you have any better ideas, I say that the headmistress's niece has as good a shot as any. Demon or no demon. And suddenly there was a confident calm that overtook them. If Vera could trust her, then they could too. So let's go find them, Vera said commandingly with a sharp gaze, causing the rest of them to jump into action.